things, Carl?
Michael, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We're
Hey,
transition.
nice blue shirt. Is
Thank you.
that a new one?
Yeah, yes, actually, we anticipating like as spring comes, as vaccines start getting going, is like there's this visible horizon that maybe like I'll get to start traveling again. Yes, I actually have a fresh batch of new blue shirts.
I'm
So
glad. It shows. I like that. That was a good one. I think it's slightly different color blue.
it is a tiny bit crisper.
Or
Which is
indigo. I think I'm gonna call that indigo.
I I'm a simple man. Like I got blue and not blue. Like I'll have to take your word on indigo. So for our discussion today, we were talking last episode about just the dynamics of like these clients that we get so attached to, right? So on the one hand, it gets really hard if they're unprofitable and we have to figure out if we're going to let them go or how to do that. And there's one set of challenges there. But we had kind of a separate question to me that ran in parallel on this theme, which is just, a lot of us do this to be kind of helpers. Like it's a service profession. It's a helping profession. We want to help people. We're kind of wired to help people. And it can get to the point, I think, for some of us where it's so hard to let go of clients and their client issues that at best it wears on us, right? Their issues become our issues. Their stress becomes our stress. When times are stressful, it gets more stressful for us. So the question that it come is sort of the other end of this, like, how do you just not think about your clients all the time and get some mental life balance?
Yeah, it's such an important question. I mean, and that really hits home. Like I remember it was really 2008, 9. And then it continued for me for like 10, 11, 12, because I was kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop. And I always remember feeling like, I don't know if I could handle that again. Right. And the reason I didn't know if I could handle it again was I was thinking about Dan and Barbara, and I was thinking about Jerry and Vera, and I was thinking about, like specific people, because they had, and I'm exaggerating a little bit when I say this, but they had cried my office, right? Like I knew what the money was for. And so that's a really, really good question. What have you found?
For me, the biggest thing, and this isn't even just specific to clients. I kind of feel like I live with this all the time, that just, it's the ADHD in me, I guess. Like I just can't turn off. It's really hard for me to turn off.
Really?
Yeah, go figure. Like I'll say the single biggest thing for me for kind of working through these, when just like my brain gets stuck on, like it could be a client thing, it could be a team thing. Like just literally get it out of your head and write it down. So for me, the app of choice just became Evernote, because it's what I started using, I don't know, 8 years ago or something, and now it's a habit, so it just sits there. So I have like a zillion and one different Evernotes, but just like the actual act of writing it down, or thumbing it out on my smartphone, but like the actual act of writing it down, like it has this purging effect, I find, for the distraction or the not being able to let go of a thing. So I'm like, I wrote it down. It's there. I know I'm coming back to it. I'm not just saying I'm going to come back to it and then it flits away, because then we don't want to let it go because we're afraid we're going to forget to come back to it. Like I wrote it down in a place that I know I regularly reference, because I've created that structure for myself. And writing it down gets it out of my head, and then I can get my headspace back. So like wherever I am, I will pull out that phone for a minute, like hop into Evernote and jot it down. Like I've got a thing for blog notes. I literally have one that's just called random ideas, of just like, I had a thing in my head. I've got a different one for business ideas. I've got a different one for notes for like clients or other things that we're currently working on. Just a place to put it. Because if you don't have a place to put it, it just continues to rest in your brain and keeps circulating.
Totally. No, I love that one. I love that one. I think where I would go, like, I think that's awesome. And I do a very similar thing. And I have a similar, like, it's sometimes people are always asking, yeah, but what do you call the category? Like random thoughts. You're like
yeah, mine is like, there is one literally called random ideas. There's another one that's just called business ideas. Like,
I have one.
Don't overthink this.
I have one called unorganized matter. Right, like it's just like where all the stuff goes instead of miscellaneous. So yeah, where I would go is the same place I would go with all mental health, and I'm using the term mental health lightly. Like, I don't mean mental health. I mean, like, just keeping our sanity, and that's just general resilience, right? Like, I think these things. And it sounds, I remember this, gosh, I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember being up, whatever, in the middle of the night, waiting for Asia to open or something, in 2008, because I was much more heavily investment focused back then. And my wife coming in and saying, hey, you should really go to sleep. Or another version of that would be in the middle of the day, just buried in work. And my wife would come and say, hey, you should take the dog for a walk. And I remember thinking, like, take the dog for a walk? Are you like, I mean, I wouldn't react this way to her, hopefully, but it was like, like in my head, I was like, I'm dying. And so these small little things I'm going to suggest are things that I remember reacting to and being like, seriously, I'm not going to do that. But to me, this is all a function of keeping air in the shocks, right? Because when there's no air in the shocks, we all know that ride is much more, it's much bumpier. And our friend Bill Winterberg will especially relate to this on a mountain bike, right? Like, keeping air in the shocks, much smoother ride. It doesn't mean that the terrain changed. And so simple little things like and the number one place I would start is sleep, right? Go read Matthew Walker's book. It's not hard to figure out how to, well, sorry, it's not complicated to figure out how to get good sleep. It might be really hard.
Might be really
Sleep,
hard. Yep.
Getting up and moving around. I have found massive benefit. I think it's the best investment I've ever made, and it was expensive, of hiring a strength coach. And I go we just started again. We took a year off while we were in London because I couldn't find a gym in lockdown, but every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm lifting relatively heavy stuff, right? I mean, for me, heavy stuff. And so sleep, lifting heavy things, and then diet. And I know it's like, what does that have to do with letting go? It gives you air in the shocks. And when we have air in the shocks, we can do these other things like take a note, and you got to get a little air in the shock in order for you to put the phone down before you go to bed, so your sleep gets a little better. And so it's all marginal. It's all, James Clear isn't the first one to say this, but he's done a pretty darn good job of talking about it. Just these little small marginal gains, little marginal benefits. I think it's all marginal. So the stuff that feels, what I would do, and I know who asked this question, and this is like, right, good people asking these kind of questions.
Yep.
Is I would find, what's the one micro action? What's the one smallest thing I could do? And if that's literally like, first thing out of bed, I'm going to walk outside for 5 minutes. Okay, just do that. I got to a place, I'm just going to review. I remember being in 2009, so paralyzed by my concern for clients.
Yep.
And we all had our own concerns too, like we all do. Like we're also humans going through pandemics, right? Like,
yep.
So you layer all that on. I remember being and everything felt so out of control. My ability to stop thinking about them and looping, like you said, looping on Dan and Barbara, what happens to Dan and Barbara? I couldn't. And I remember, this is going to sound kind of California woo-woo, but I remember I was listening to Eckhart Tolle's Audible book, The Power of Now. And it got to the point where my micro action was my own breath. It was like the only thing I could get control of was my own breath. That's where I had to start. And that sense of control expanded a bit over time to where I was like, okay, how do I deal with that situation or that situation or that situation? And how do I deal with the fact that I need to set Dan and Barbara down and go on a walk so I can get good sleep? So I just think find one small micro action based on resilience. I think the place to start is sleep, because sleep is foundational to all the rest. And then that will give you the ability, because it's all like, because the ultimate thing would be that would be helpful in this situation is meditation, simply because you can start noticing when you're looping and you can go, oh, that's right, I don't need to loop anymore. But getting yourself to meditate when you're in a state where you can't even get yourself to go on a walk. So just build small micro action, teeniest thing. A micro action, I define a micro action as so small that you don't even think it matters. So it should be so small where you're like, that's ridiculous. Floss one tooth. That's an example that whatever, I can't remember the Stanford professor's name. Tiny Habits.
BJ Fogg.
BJ Fogg, right? Floss one tooth. Right? Well, of course. So that would be my suggestion. It's just general resilience to give ourselves air in the shocks so we can do some of the mental training and the work to let clients down. And then maybe start with this, like, gosh, give yourself a little bit of a break. That, like, the fact that you're doing that is a sign that you care, and we need more people like that. And so, like, let's not beat ourselves up for that action. Let's just figure out how to put it in the right container so that we can, because if you can't fix that, you won't be around 10 years from now to take care of those people.
Yeah. To me, I love the discussion of sort of have some air in your shocks. Like, you just have some space to be able to absorb the ups and downs and not have them knock you around so much that you can't get focus or get control again. I find, like, so much of it is just, I think you used the right word. Like, we loop, right? We get stuck in a loop because we want to help them, and so it's hard to get it out of the brain, and they keep boomeranging back in. That, to me, like, it's all about it's really two things. It's breaking the loop, which to me is like, then get it out of your head, like, write it down somewhere. Right? I know some people like to write notes. You can Evernote it if you're more digitally inclined, as I am. Whatever your thing is, like, write it down. It gets out of your head and breaks the loop. And the second part of that is, like, don't invite the loop to get turned back on again, which to me really functionally comes down to, when you're out of work and you're done with that time, like, turn off the phone notifications, or at least, like, turn off the work email notifications. Don't have the message pop up in the little preview. Don't even have the app show you that there's an unread message, because if you see it, you're going to loop on, I'm so curious to know what the unread notification is. They do it for a reason. They know when they give you the little notification, you're going to feel compelled to, like, get the burst of dopamine when you find out what it is, because you're so curious. The cool thing for technology now is, well, some people I know just, like, put the phone down or lock it in another room when they're trying to create their space. Short of that, or if you're a little more tech inclined, like, you can like set notifications down to very granular levels now of, like, don't show, these apps shouldn't give me notifications after these times or within these windows. Like, you can do that kind of stuff. But you turn the work related notifications off so you don't get sucked into the loop, and break the loop by getting it out of your head by writing it down or digitally writing it down. Yeah, and just it helps you be more present in whatever you're doing. And if you want to go one level further on that, as you said, like, for people who really get stuck on this, like, meditation actually is a good place to go. I know for a lot of people, particularly have challenges kind of getting their mind quiet. That's like, meditation sounds awful. I don't know how I could, like, sit still and not focus on things for a while and meditate. Like, that's literally the point of the exercise. Like, it is acknowledging that it's really hard to do this, and literally practicing the skill of, how do I bring my mind back to present and try to get off the loops that happen. So, if you want to go the next level, meditation is a cool place to go. But if you're not ready to go there, to me, just the starting point, like, have a way to get it out of your head, like Evernote, notepads, stickies, whatever it is. Commit to writing it down so it is out of your head, and don't invite the loop to get reopened again, which means turn off the notifications that can start the work loops going again.
And I think, the work that we're seeing right now about those notifications is really, like, I don't think you can go too far with it. Cal Newport, right? Like, get a different phone. If you're worried about, like, my kids and my children need to be able to get in touch with me or whatever, right? Like, the work phone gets turned off and put in a drawer, and they get in touch with you. Like that's not an investment.
It's like we're dialing back 20 years from ago when you had your work pager and your family pager.
Dude, I agree. The smartest people I know right now, the people I admire at least the most, they've made their smartphones dumb.
Yeah.
Right. There's no way for that intrusion and it's a little bit like expecting us, because I love where you went with that. Like, the idea of not opening the loop again is so smart. And we way overestimate our ability to control that. It's like showing up to a gunfight with a knife. Like, those people are 10 times smarter than us, and there's 5,000 of them.
They're really good at designing their apps to be addictive. They know exactly what they're doing when they make the notifications the way they do and what they show you. Like, it's built to get you to engage with the tool. And that's great when you need it and you want to be notified, you want to be engaged with the tool. But if you're in this person's situation, you're trying to get off that ride,
so you're not thinking about your
don't
clients.
keep inviting it back in.
Yeah. And I love to remind myself, and we say this all the time internally at Behavior Gap, is we're not emergency room doctors.
Yeah.
Like, literally,
it's not that urgent.
No one's going to die if you don't talk to them from 5 until 10 the next morning. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
And so give yourself a break, get it out of your head, build a wall around the loops. Like, I love those suggestions. That's awesome. Thanks, Michael.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl.
Okay, brother. See you later.
Take care.